We only got 2 days left before the Four Nations face-off kicks off on Wednesday, and there are 14 games on the schedule tonight, so let's waste no time and let's hop right into it. Welcome to Kicking with Kipes. Our first game is the Carolina Hurricanes taking on the Utah Hockey Club, where the Carolina Hurricanes, they win 7-3 in dominating fashion. Seth Jarvis, he is heating up and he has been hot all season long. He had 2 goals and 2 assists in this game. He will be considered a depth forward for the Canadiens, but at the same time, he might just earn a spot in that top 6, top 9 maybe. He's playing so good this season that he deserves to have a sniff to play with the best players in the world for Canada. Sebastian Aho, he will be playing for Finland, and he also had a very good game in this one. He had 2 goals and an assist in this game, so both those star players for the Hurricanes stepped up in Mikko Rantanen's absence in this game. 2 other players that had good games for the Carolina Hurricanes, Jaden Chatfield, he had a goal and an assist. Andrei Svechnikov and Jackson Blake, they each had 2 assists for the Hurricanes. I said 2. There were actually 3 players that also had very good games on top of Jarvis and Aho, but the Hurricanes, they are now 33-19-4. They're having a very good season up till this point, heading into the break, and hopefully they can keep this up after the break, because they were struggling a little bit up until this game, but Utah is a very good palate cleanser for most teams right now. Like I just mentioned, they were struggling, the Hurricanes, up until this point. They had lost 3 in a row leading up until the break. They salvaged this last game, and Peter Kochetkov, he was in net for the Hurricanes today, making 36 saves, I should say, including 19 in the third period. So the Utah Hockey Club, they did turn on the Jets late in this game, but it was way too little too late, and they just couldn't beat Kochetkov in time. I mentioned it near the top of the segment, the Carolina Hurricanes, they were without newly acquired Mikko Rantanen in this game. He only has 2 points in his first 6 games as a Hurricane, so he has struggled out of the gate. Otherwise, compared to the Colorado players that just got acquired by Colorado, they have been doing very good for their new team. Rantanen struggling a little bit, so you gotta beg the question, is Rantanen maybe the problem in this scenario? And he's just not fitting in good with his Finnish counterpart, Sebastian Aho. What's going on? Maybe it's just a new change of scenery. Maybe the trade caught him that much off guard that it's just affecting his play. Who knows? But let's hope he can improve a little bit, because if he doesn't improve, that's just going to diminish his payday on July 1st. Captain Clayton Keller for the Utah Hockey Club, he got 2 goals in this game, trying to lead by example, but his teammates, they did not listen, and they could only score 1 other goal besides the 2 that he potted. So who knows what's going on in Utah? They are a very mid team, because they are 23-9. The Utah Hockey Club, they had won their past 2 games, but they were both in overtime, so they squeaked out those wins and then just weren't able to beat a very good Carolina team today. So Karel Vejmelka, I've said his name a lot in relation to losses for this Utah team, so that is starting to become a major pattern, and I wonder if they address it in any fashion. He made 31 saves in this game, though he was pretty busy, but he still led in 7 goals. Jarvis, like I mentioned at the top of the segment, he has had a very good season. This is his second 4-point game of the season already, and I cannot wait to see this guy play for Canada and see what he can do on the international stage. So the Carolina Hurricanes, they take care of business big time at home against the Utah Hockey Club, winning 7-3. Up next, we got the Detroit Red Wings hosting the Tampa Bay Lightning at Little Caesars Arena in Detroit, Michigan today. But the home team, they could not do much with this Tampa Bay Lightning team today. They lost 6-3. It was over before it pretty much got started, because the Lightning, they scored 4 goals in the first period to take a complete stranglehold of this Detroit Red Wings team, and they just coasted for the rest of the game, even when the Wings tried to make a little bit of a comeback in the third period with DeBrincat scoring to make it 4-3, I think it was. But at the same time, it was just way too little too late. This did end Detroit's very impressive run of games. They were on a 7-game winning streak up until this point, solidifying their spot, or trying to solidify a spot in the playoffs. They still are not in a position in the playoff picture, but this past 7 games is extremely good and exactly what you need from this team. So hopefully after the break, Detroit can just come back and play just as good as they have been lately and hop right back on the win train. Seth Jarvis, he had 4 points in his game for the Carolina Hurricanes. Brandon Hagel in this game, he also had 4 points. A couple players having massive nights so far tonight, and he will be representing Canada, so it's just another player that I'm excited to be cheering for, because yes, he's a Tampa Bay Lightning, and that's just disgusting to say out loud that I'll be cheering for him, but at the same time, he's a Canadian. You gotta cheer for your country. Hagel, he did have 2 goals and 2 assists in this game, just having a phenomenal season up until this point. 2 other players that had fantastic nights for the Tampa Bay Lightning was Eric Chernak and Nikita Kucherov. They each had 3 points in this game. Chernak, he had a goal and 2 assists. Kucherov, he just added 3 assists, having a fantastic season once again. Very dirty player, but you got to give credit where it's due. The Lightning, they are now 30-20-4. They have won 3 games in a row, so they're starting to pick it up at the right time. They're probably going to make the playoffs. Boston, they lose today. We'll cover that in 1 or 2 segments, but at the same time, with Tampa winning and Boston losing, that is just spreading that gap a little bit more in that Atlantic division. Andrei Vasilevsky, he was in net for the Tampa Bay Lightning today. He made 34 saves along the way for the victory. For the Detroit Red Wings, Alex DeBrincat, he had the best game for the Red Wings players. He had a goal and 2 assists in this game. Vladimir Tarasenko, he got his 300th career NHL goal. Yes, he's been a little bit disappointing as a Detroit Red Wing, but at the same time, 300 goals in the NHL is just an absolutely amazing accomplishment. The Wings, they are still pretty impressive so far this season. They are 28-22-5, still fighting for a playoff spot, but at the same time, just jump right back on the win train after the 4 Nations, and I think they'll be fine, but they have to fight a lot of teams to get there. This was the second longest active winning streak in the NHL right now compared to the Winnipeg Jets. They have won 8 in a row, so it was going to be very close and very tight for the Detroit Red Wings to tie to be one of the best teams in the league for the past 8 games. So it's too bad that they didn't get there, but at the same time, it's still very impressive nonetheless. Alex Lyon, he did start the game for the Detroit Red Wings in this one, but he allowed 2 goals on 3 shots. He got yanked by head coach Todd McClellan. Cam Talbot, he came in net for relief, making 11 saves along the way. A very exciting moment in this game was when Dylan Duke, rookie for the Tampa Bay Lightning, this was his first career NHL game. He gets his first career NHL goal in front of not tons, but some family and friends. They looked absolutely ecstatic in the stands. They were going nuts when he put that puck in the net. It was a juicy little rebound, and he just poked it in, but they don't ask how, they ask, did you score in the NHL? And now he can say yes. This was extra special because Duke, he is a University of Michigan native, so he is used to playing in this state of Michigan. Tampa Bay, their star players are playing very well this season. They are actually the first team to have a 25 goal scorers through 54 games. So they are the fastest to get that many goals in 54 games since 1991-1992 season Pittsburgh Penguins. So that is an absolutely amazing accomplishment. Point, Jake Gensel, Kucherov, and Hagel all have 25 or more goals, and that is the quickest since 91 that this has happened in the NHL. So the Tampa Bay Lightning, they take a stranglehold on the Detroit Red Wings early in this game, winning 6-3 in total at Little Caesars Arena in Detroit. Up next, we got the New Jersey Devils in Montreal, Quebec, where the Devils, they kicked the crap out of the Montreal Canadiens, winning 4-0. Jake Allen, obviously the star of the show for the Devils, getting the shutout in this game. This was his second shutout in the past 4 games for him, so he's having a very good run of games, and he desperately needed to step up for this team in the absence of Jake Markstrom, the star goalie for the Devils. So the Devils, they were starting to worry about what their goaltender situation was going to be, and it seems like they found the answer in-house. Jesper Bratt and Jack Hughes, they both had a very good game. They had a goal and an assist apiece. The other 2 goal scorers for the New Jersey Devils was Paul Cotter and Luke Hughes. So both brothers for the Devils scored in this game. The Devils, they are now 31-20-6. They have alternated wins and losses the past 6 games, so this is very inconsistent from the Devils as of late, but at the same time, maybe a break is exactly what they need right now. The Montreal Canadiens, they had a chance to break Jake Allen's shutout with about 16 seconds left in the 3rd period with a penalty shot, but Allen, he stopped Owen Beck on that penalty shot, solidifying that shutout for him. Jesper Bratt, for my fantasy team and for the New Jersey Devils, he is playing very good as of late. He has 12 points in the past 8 games, 2 goals, 10 assists, very contributing to his team, helping them try to get some wins here and there. Bratt, he will be representing Sweden at the 4 Nations face-off, so it's going to be so interesting seeing how these players all mix together. Sam Montembeault, he will be the Canadian goaltender, or one of the 3 Canadian goaltenders for the 4 Nations face-off, and I am petrified at the goalie situation. I've mentioned this several times, but at the same time, Montembeault, he made 18 saves in this game. The Montreal Canadiens, they are now 25, 25, and 5, almost as even as you can get, even Steven. And I don't know what's happening with this Montreal Canadiens team right now. They did so good in December and partially January, and they have just fallen off a cliff and imploded, because right now there's a 0% chance that they will make the playoffs at this stage. So the New Jersey Devils, they dominate from start to end this game against the Montreal Canadiens, winning 4-0. We head to Boston, Massachusetts, where the Boston Bruins are hosting the Vegas Golden Knights at the Garden. And I don't know why I said that, but the Vegas Golden Knights, they come from behind several times and win this game 4-3. Tomas Hertl, he got the game-winning goal with 1:10 left in this game, putting that game at 4-3, unreachable by the Boston Bruins to try to come back at that point, and they win. The Vegas Golden Knights, they come from behind from 2-0 and 3-1 in this game, and the Boston Bruins, they continue not to be great. And when I say not be great for the Boston Bruins, they are still having a pretty good season, but at the same time, they are struggling and they are not in the playoffs right now, and it would be wild not to see the Bruins in the playoffs. So I'm relishing in it, but at the same time, I wouldn't be surprised if they strung together 5-6 wins in a row and make the playoffs. Hertl's game-winning goal was from Jack Eichel, and Hertl, he just ripped it past Jeremy Swayman's glove side, and it was a beautiful shot. Also for the Vegas Golden Knights, Mark Stone, he had a goal and an assist in this game. Jack Eichel and Shea Theodore each had 2 assists for the Golden Knights en route to this victory. Very good team performance from this team. The Vegas Golden Knights, they scored the last 3 goals of this game, making a huge comeback. The Bruins, they have also not given up many multi-goal leads in the third period to lose a game. Like, they had a stat on there, and they were like 39-0-5 when they had a 2-goal lead heading into the third period, and Vegas overcame that stat big time. Ilya Samsonov, former Toronto Maple Leaf, he made the start in the net for the Vegas Golden Knights. He made 21 saves along the way, and yes, he looked like the Ilya Samsonov that drove Maple Leafs fans nuts the past couple years, but at the same time, he stood tall when he needed to in this game. For the Bruins, big man Nikita Zadorov, he had a goal and an assist in this game. David Pastrnak, he's having a phenomenal season for the Boston Bruins. He had an assist to extend his point streak to 13 straight games. 11 goals, 15 assists for 26 points in his past 13 games. That is bonkers. The Bruins, they're now 27, 24, and 6. They have lost 2 in a row, so they better get it back in gear once the Four Nations face-off is over and hopefully make the playoffs for their fans. But at the same time, I really hope it doesn't happen. At the time of recording, the Bruins, they are at 60 points, while the next closest in the playoff spot is at 61, so they are right there, and the Bruins can easily make the playoffs. But at the same time, I'm kind of liking the playoff picture right now in the NHL, so let's just hope it stays the same. Jeremy Swayman, he'll be one of 3 goaltenders for the Americans at the Four Nations face-off. He was in net for the Bruins today. He made 34 saves along the way, but still ended up getting the loss. Dorofeyev, he was the guy that got the game tied at 3-3 for the Knights, and he also thought that he got the game-winning goal, but that one was challenged by the Bruins and taken back due to goaltender interference. So that would have been an amazing night for Dorofeyev, getting the tying goal and the game-winning goal at the Boston Garden. And too bad it didn't happen, but it was still a win for the Knights, and I'm sure they don't care how it happened. Vegas forward Victor Olofsson, he left the game early in the first period after getting an upper body injury, so hopefully he will be better because he is a key part to that forward group for the Vegas Golden Knights. So the Golden Knights, they come from behind and beat the Boston Bruins 4-3 in Boston Saturday afternoon. Up next, we got the Vancouver Canucks taking on the Toronto Maple Leafs in Vancouver, where the Canucks, they take control of the game and they win 2-1. Brock Besser, he got the go-ahead goal in the third period about halfway through to get his team over the line to get the victory. It was the opening night of the Invictus Games as well in Vancouver, so Prince Harry, he was there dropping the ceremony of face-off. Noah Khan was next door singing the opening ceremony, so it was just a big night in Vancouver, and the Leafs, they just didn't come to play. Thatcher Demko, goaltender for the Vancouver Canucks, he left early in the first period due to an injury. Kevin Lankinen, he came in relief and took control of the game and just did not let many goals in. He only let 1 goal in all game after not expecting to play in this game, which is extremely commendable. Filip Hronek, defenseman for the Canucks, he got a goal and an assist, contributing on both goals for the Canucks. The Canucks, they are now 26, 18, and 11. They're having a decent season. They are still holding that wild card spot in the Western Conference. The Flames right now, as we are talking, They are tied 0-0 heading into the first period against the Seattle Kraken. So if the Flames end up losing this game, the Canucks will have a 2-point advantage on the Canucks, or on the Flames, I'm sorry. And yeah, just not good for the Flames, so they have to win this game. The Vancouver Canucks, they have also been without their star defenseman and captain Quinn Hughes for the past 4 games due to an undisclosed injury that is very worrisome for the Americans for the Four Nations face-off, because he was going to be one of the main pieces of that defensive core for the Americans. Yes, they can easily go to anyone else in the league and get a very solid defenseman, but there are not many players at all on the level of Quinn Hughes. But, so Quinn Hughes, he's missed the past 4 games. The past 6 games, the Vancouver Canucks, they've been very impressive. They have been 6-1-1 in their past 8 games. BC native Morgan Riley, he got hit the lone goal for the Toronto Maple Leafs tonight. Joseph Woll, he was in net. He picked up the loss. He made 23 saves for the Leafs. The Leafs, they pick up their 20th loss of the season. They are now 33-20-2. They had won 3 in a row leading up into this game. They were looking extremely good on this West Coast trip. I called in my predictions for them to sweep the West Coast, but that just did not happen. The Leafs, they did not go out with a lack of trying. They did get a breakaway with William Nylander halfway through this third period. And then Lankinen, he also made a beautiful save off of sprawling just across the net. Matthews, he just had to lift the puck just a little bit more to get the goal. It would have been a tap-in for Matthews, but Lankinen, great save nonetheless. So the Vancouver Canucks, they beat the visiting Toronto Maple Leafs 2-1. We head on over to St. Louis, Missouri, where the St. Louis Blues are facing the Chicago Blackhawks for the first time since New Year's, where they faced off outdoors at Wrigley Field, and the St. Louis Blues spanked the crap out of the Blackhawks. This time it was a closer game, very high scoring. The Blackhawks, they lose 6-5 to the St. Louis Blues. This game went all the way to a shootout, the 10th round of the shootout to be exact. That is such a long time for an individual skills competition, but it was Radek Faksa for the St. Louis Blues that got that game-winning goal. 3 players for the St. Louis Blues that had a goal and an assist for 2 points in this game: Philip Broberg, Matthew Joseph, and Robert Thomas. The Blues, they are now 25-26-5. They are still very poor in this season, and yeah, you can't expect to make the playoffs at this point if you're the Blues. Yes, you can string a couple wins here and a couple wins there, but at the same time, there are so many other teams that are much better than you this season that will be making the playoffs. Jordan Binnington, he was in net for the St. Louis Blues today. He only made 15 saves. He wasn't that busy. For the Canadiens, I'm very worried I keep saying this, but for the goaltending situation, we have Montembeault, we have Adin Hill, and we have Binnington. If it was me in this moment making the decision for the Canadiens, it would be Adin Hill being the starting goaltender for the Canadian team. Binnington, he's had a terrible season all year. He's played mainly the most of the games for the St. Louis Blues and just not played to the standard that we all thought he was. Ilya Mikheyev, he was probably the best player for the Chicago Blackhawks in this game. He had a goal and 2 assists for 3 points in this game. Alec Martinez and Teuvo Teravainen, they each had a goal and an assist as well in this game, also having pretty good individual nights. The Blackhawks, they were coming off of a very convincing win over the Nashville Predators 6-2 the other night, but they still dropped to 17-31-7. Still a pathetic season by the Blackhawks, and there's nothing else to really say about this team except for please be better and please make your team more interesting to even follow. The Blackhawks, they even had a 2-0 lead in this game. Craig Smith and Ryan Donato, they scored about 30 to 35 seconds apart in the second period, and it was just bonkers that they still blew that game. Those 2 goals by the Blackhawks were actually in the first period. In the second period, the Blues answered with 3 straight unanswered goals to take the lead. It was Robert Thomas's goal in the third period that made the game 5-5, that pushed it to overtime and then inevitably into the shootout. So thank you, Robert Thomas, for giving the St. Louis Blues an extra point. The St. Louis Blues, they win 6-5 against the Chicago Blackhawks. We head on over to Columbus, Ohio, where the Blue Jackets are hosting the New York Rangers on the back of a back-to-back for the Rangers, where the Rangers, they win 4-3. Will Cooley, he scored twice in this game for the Rangers. He was the star of this game for them most definitely. He got 2 goals in the third period, one very early, one very late. Mika Zibanejad, he had a goal and an assist in this game. Vincent Trocheck, he also had 2 assists for the Rangers. The main players, those are 2 very main important players for the Rangers stepping up in this game. The Rangers, they're now 27, 24, and 4. They have improved since their horrible November-ish, December-ish time, and it's just good to see this team picking up the pace a little bit. Jonathan Quick, he picked up his 400th career NHL win the other night, becoming the first ever American goaltender to do so. He gets another win in this game, making 22 saves along the way. Zach Werenski, he is on a phenomenal run of games at home. He has 21 games in a row with at least a single point, which is just an insane record. Although the Blue Jackets have lost 4 straight in a row, they are still 26, 22, and 8. They are still very impressive this season compared to what everybody would have expected them to be this season. The Blue Jackets, they are currently tied with the Boston Bruins on 60 points, just below that wild card spot in the Eastern Conference, but with a single win, they can easily leapfrog the other teams in the wild card and get in the playoffs, no problem. Elvis Merzlikins, he was in net for the Blue Jackets tonight. He made 36 saves in the loss. Werenski, we'll talk about him right now. He will be playing for the Americans in the Four Nations faceoff, which is absolutely terrifying because this guy is so good. Him getting a point in this game, like we just talked about, getting to 21 games in a row with a point at home, it ties Bobby Orr, of all people, in 1970, 1971. My dad was born in 71. That's how long ago this was. He's ancient. So we'll see if he listens to this video, because then I'll get a text about it. But at the same time, this is the 4th longest home point streak in NHL history by a defenseman. That is absolutely insane and so impressive that he's doing this. He is in elite company doing this right now. Bobby Orr, he holds the record actually at 25 games. So it doesn't seem like a lot, but Werenski still has to get to at least 4 games to be tied for the best defenseman in NHL history. And let's just hope he does it, because that is such a cool story. On that note, the New York Rangers, they beat the Columbus Blue Jackets 4-3 in Columbus tonight. Up next, we got the Pittsburgh Penguins taking on the Philadelphia Flyers, the Battle of Pennsylvania once again, where this time the Philadelphia Flyers, they win 3-2 against the Pittsburgh Penguins, breaking a 5-game losing streak. Travis Konechny, Ridgetown, Ontario native, he got a goal and an assist in this game, leading the way. 2 other goal scorers for the Philadelphia Flyers, Scott Laughton and Garnet Hathaway, they also scored in this game. The Philadelphia Flyers, they're still having a very poor season, if we're being completely honest. They are 24, 26, and 7. They were 0-4-1 in their previous 5 games heading into this game. Samuel Ersson, he will be facing, he won't be facing, he'll be representing Sweden in the Four Nations faceoff. He made 32 saves in the win tonight. This was also Jacob Pelletier and Andrei Kuzmenko's first game as a Philadelphia Flyer. This has been a nightmare trying to get them to Philadelphia. There was visa issues and just communication issues out the wazoo apparently. So it's good to see them finally representing their new team. Andrei Kuzmenko, he actually picked up an assist in this game, a secondary assist on the first goal of the game for the Flyers, which is huge to get that in your first ever game as on your new team. Erik Karlsson and Kevin Hayes, the veterans for the Pittsburgh Penguins, they were the only 2 goal scorers for their team today. The Penguins, they're also pretty pathetic this season. They are 23, 25, and 9. They had their 4-game point streak come to an end as well tonight. They were 3-0-1 in that span. Joel Blomqvist, or however the heck you want to say it, he was in net for the Pittsburgh Penguins today. He made 17 saves along the way. This was also the 2nd game in a row that the Penguins were without their captain and star forward Sidney Crosby. He has been out for the past 2 games due to an injury, which is also terribly frightening, I should say, for the Team Canada. Mark Scheifele of the Winnipeg Jets, he's been warned to keep his schedule kind of open just in case Crosby can't go for this tournament, which would be devastating for Canadiens all over the country, not being able to see Sid the Kid play for their team once again. But at the same time, you might think that the Penguins would say maybe take it easy for us, but at the same time, I have heard and read online that the Penguins are leaving the decision up to Crosby. So the Philadelphia Flyers, they beat the Pittsburgh Penguins 3-2 Saturday night. Up next, we got the Battle of the Brothers, the Florida Panthers taking on the Ottawa Senators, where Matthew and Brady Tkachuk are facing off against each other. Brother Matthew, he gets the edge in this game. The Panthers, they win 5-1. Matthew, he got a goal and an assist in this game, and the Florida Panthers, they win their 5th win in 6 games. They're having a very good little run of games. Tkachuk, he extended his goal streak to 6 games in a row with a goal. That is absolutely phenomenal These two Kachuk brothers, they will be teammates in only a couple days' time when they join up for Team USA in the Four Nations face-off. Captain of the Florida Panthers and captain of Team Finland, Alexander Barkov, he got a goal and an assist as well in this game. The Panthers, they maintained that top spot in the Atlantic Division with a 34-20-3 record. Other goal scorers for the Florida Panthers, Anton Lundell, Sam Bennett, and Gustav Forsling. For the Ottawa Senators, Linus Ullmark, he is back in the net for the Ottawa Senators. He made 43 saves in the losing effort. That is insane. So the Panthers, they almost got 50 shots on Ullmark in this game, and he only let in 5. That is pretty commendable, if I'm being quite honest. The Senators, they are now 29-23-4. They have lost their past 3 games ever since really people started noticing them and saying, hey, they might actually get in the top 3 of the Atlantic Division. They decided to stink the bed right after that. The Florida Panthers, they have 8 players, a league-leading 8 players that will be playing at the Four Nations face-off. Kachuk for the Americans, Barkov for the Finns, Eetu Luosterainen for Finland, Nico Mikkola for Finland, Bennett for Canada, Forsling for Sweden, and Lundell for Finland as well. So a couple Nordic countries being represented heavily, the Americans and Canada, all being represented by this team, and which just speaks to how good and deep of a team they have. The second period was all Florida. The Panthers, they outshot the Senators 20-9, which is absolutely insane. They laid a gauntlet of shots on Linus Ullmark. Anton Lundell, he got the nail in the coffin goal for the Florida Panthers in the third period, shorthanded on an empty net. So Matthew Tkachuk wins the Brother Bowl this time around. The Panthers, they win 5-1 over the Ottawa Senators. Up next, we got the Nashville Predators taking on the Buffalo Sabres in Nashville, where the Predators, they surprisingly score 6 goals in this game, winning 6-4. 2 star players for the Nashville Predators in this game, Brady Shea and Philip Forsberg, they each got 2 goals, definitely leading the way by example. Ryan O'Reilly, forward for the Nashville Predators, he has been on a lot of trade bait target lists for teams at the trade deadline, which is very interesting because he just chose Nashville just about a year or so ago to stay there and try to finish off his career maybe there. But I wonder if any teams, I've heard the Leafs might go calling after this guy, but I don't know if I really want him anymore after his comments after leaving Toronto saying it's too much media pressure. Get over yourself and play hockey. That's your job. Anyways, back to that. Ryan O'Reilly, he had 4 assists in this game, which is extremely incredible. Very good accomplishment by him. Jonathan Marsh, so he also had a goal and 2 assists for the Predators in this game. Lots of main players for the Nashville Predators who desperately needed to stepped up in this game. The Predators, they are now a measly 19-28-7. They ended a 6-game losing streak. They're just pathetic all around the ice, all season long. Justus Annunen, he was in net for the Nashville Predators today. He made 25 saves along the way to the victory. For the Buffalo Sabres, they're also a pretty pathetic team this season. Alex Tuch, he had a goal and 2 assists for the Sabres tonight. The Sabres, they are now 22-26-5. They had a 4-game winning streak up until this point. That got ended tonight against a Nashville team, so that's pretty pathetic for the Buffalo Sabres that were actually looking like they were playing pretty good hockey to have this streak ended by a team as measly and as boring as the Nashville Predators. Ukko-Pekka Luukkonen, he was in net for the Buffalo Sabres today. He will be representing Finland in the upcoming Four Nations face-off. He made 17 saves along the way to getting the big L in this game. Dylan Cousins, he brought the game to a close 5-4 score just a little bit into the third period, giving hope to the Buffalo Sabres, but then Zach Benson, he came in and they thought he got the 5-5 goal. They were all pumped up about it, but lo and behold, it was offside. The game stayed at 5-4, and then the game ended at 6-4. So all for nothing for the Sabres. Dylan Cousins, his name has been floated around big time, around the Toronto Maple Leafs, around Winnipeg, around these big teams that need to stock up in center. So I wonder if he will get moved, but I feel like he will come at a very steep cost. So the Buffalo Sabres, they are in Nashville tonight. They lose 6-4. We head on over to Minnesota, where the Wild, they are hosting the New York Islanders. The Islanders, they are on a back end of a back-to-back, so they were a little bit tired, and their legs gave out from underneath them big time. The Wild, they scored 5 unanswered goals to win 6-3 in this game. Matt Boldy, he is stepping up big time for the Minnesota Wild in the absence of Kirill Kaprizov and just in the nick of time for the Four Nations faceoff, where he will be expected to do a lot for the Americans. Other goal scorers for the Minnesota Wild, Marco Rossi, Freddie Gaudreau, and Yakov Trenin. They also scored for the Wild in this game. The Wild, they are now 33, 19, and 4. Their record is very impressive for what they've gone through this season with major injuries here and there. Philip Gustafsson, he was in net for the Minnesota Wild. He made 31 saves for the victory. He will be in net for the Swedish team. I wonder if he will be getting the starting goaltender job, especially with Jacob Markstrom not being around and available for the tournament. For the New York Islanders, it just didn't go good for them tonight. Brock Nelson and Kyle Palmieri, they both scored for the Islanders. They each had a goal and an assist as well. The Islanders, they are 25, 23, and 7. They did lose last night against the Winnipeg Jets in a very close game, so they had a very tough opponent last night. They had another pretty tough opponent in the Wild tonight. So back-to-back games and they lose, but at the same time, they did show more promise in the first game last night. Ilya Sorokin, he was in net for the Islanders. He made 27 saves in the losing effort. Defenseman for the New York Islanders, Tony DeAngelo, I don't have a lot of respect for this guy. It just seems to be drama wherever he goes in the league. Even going back to junior, I've heard several stories from his days in Sarnia for playing for the Sarnia Sting, where he is just not a very good guy whatsoever. So I don't think I'd ever want him on my favorite team. But at the same time, he did light it up in the KHL. At the beginning of the season, they mutually terminated his contract, and then he signed a one-year contract with the New York Islanders. He scored on his own net tonight. Marcus Foligno, forward for the Minnesota Wild, he got the empty net goal for that nail-in-the-coffin goal. 6-3 was the final, about 5 minutes left of the third period. Joel Eriksson Ek, also of the Minnesota Wild, he should be representing Sweden in the upcoming tournament, but he did miss this game with an injury, so let's see if he will be able to contribute to the Swedish. The Minnesota Wild, they score 5 unanswered goals in this game, beating the New York Islanders 6-3. Up next, we got the Calgary Flames taking on the Seattle Kraken. My hometown team, Calgary Flames, they lose in overtime 3-2, giving up a 2-0 lead. Matty Beniers, he scored on the power play in overtime, 2.5 minutes, almost 3 minutes actually, into the overtime period, just deflating all hopes of Calgary Flames fans in the building. For the Seattle Kraken, Shane Wright and Andrei Burakovsky, they also scored for the Kraken. They also added an assist for 2 points apiece in the game. The Kraken, they're not having a very good season whatsoever. They are 24, 29, and 4. They ended a 3-game losing streak in this one as well, and this is just pathetic by the Flames right now. I don't know what's going on. They're imploding in front of our very eyes, just proving to everybody what people kind of thought they were going to be most of the season, but at the same time, they were so pleasantly good for 90% of the season so far, and now they're just starting to crumble, and hopefully they can come back after this break and just be so good. Joey Daccord, he was in net for the Seattle Kraken tonight. He got 27 saves in the win tonight. Nazem Kadri and Morgan Frost, they were the only two goal scorers for the Calgary Flames tonight. Morgan Frost, he's looking pretty good after coming over from the Philadelphia Flyers. The Flames, they are still 26, 21, and 8. Still not a horrible record, but they have to get some wins here. They have lost 4 of 5 and 6 of 8 as of late, and that is just not good whatsoever. Ryan Huska, head coach of the Calgary Flames, he has to get something going with this team. They called up a couple players. They didn't really do too much. Ilya Solyov, or however you say it, he played pretty good tonight. He looked pretty big on the blue line. Dustin Wolf, he was in net for this one. He made 25 saves in the losing effort. And please, Calgary, just please make the playoffs. This would be so much fun, and what a good story it would be. So the Seattle Kraken, they beat the Calgary Flames 3-2 in overtime, having a 3-goal comeback in the process. Our second last game of the night is the Dallas Stars taking on the San Jose Sharks, and the Dallas Stars, they kicked the snot out of the San Jose Sharks, winning 8-3. Matt Duchene was the star of the Stars tonight, no pun intended. He had 2 goals and an assist in this game for 3 points, just having an incredible game, and he's been very good for the Stars as of late as well. Jamie Benn, Wyatt Johnson, and Thomas R. Harley each had a goal and an assist for the Stars tonight. The Stars, they are now 35, 18, and 2. They had lost 2 in a row heading into this game, but at the same time, they are having a phenomenal season once again. And according to me, they are a shoo-in for the playoffs. Michael Granlund for the Dallas Stars. This was his first game facing off against the San Jose Sharks since getting traded on February 1st. So this was a fun little game for him. He got 2 assists in this game against his former team. He will also be representing Finland in a couple days' time at the Four Nations face-off. Casey DeSmith was in net for the Dallas Stars tonight. He made 23 saves in the winning effort. The 3 goal scorers for the San Jose Sharks, William Ekelund, Fabian Zetterlund, and Walker Duehr, former Calgary Flame, they all scored for the Sharks. The Sharks, they're having a pathetic season, just like the Chicago Blackhawks and the Nashville Predators. They are 15, 35, and 7. They have lost 4 in a row. They are 0, 3, and 1 in that span, and 1, 9, and 1 in their past 11 games. That is astronomically horrible. The only exciting really thing that happened in this game, besides the fact that Dallas scored 8 flipping goals, was the fact that Harley, he scored against Vanacek above the blocker to make it 7-2, and then just quickly, 27 seconds later, Walker Duehr, that's when his goal came, and nice 2 little quick goals to keep the energy in the building when it wasn't really there at all for the hometown San Jose fans. So the Dallas Stars, they kicked the crap out of the San Jose Sharks, winning 8-3 Saturday night. Our last game of the night is the Los Angeles Kings taking on the Anaheim Ducks, where the Anaheim Ducks, they win 2-1 in the shootout. Lucas Dostal, he was a very busy boy tonight. He made 43 saves in net for the Anaheim Ducks today. Brian Dumoulin was the only goal scorer in regulation for the Ducks. The Ducks, they are now 24, 24, and 6. Somehow they are 500 on the season. I am shocked that they are this good. They're not good, but they are doing a lot better than I ever anticipated them to do, and they have now won 3 straight. They are 6-1 in their past 7 games as well, so they are screwing their chances of getting a lottery pick for the upcoming NHL draft in June. But man, if they keep on winning these games, it's little victories, right? For the Los Angeles Kings, the only goal in this game came from Adrian Kempe. He will be representing Sweden at the Four Nations face-off. He ended a 7-game goalless drought in this one, and he tied the game late for the Kings, who are now 29, 17, and 7. They have been very hot and cold, this Kings team. They were doing very good, and then pretty bad, and then pretty good, and now they're kind of slowing down, so hopefully they can pick it back up after the 2-week break. Big save David Riddick. He was in net for the 2nd night in a row for the LA Kings. He only let in 1 regulation goal, which is extremely impressive, because you can only imagine how tired that guy is after playing last night as well. The other goaltender for the LA Kings was unavailable due to personal reasons tonight. For the Ducks in the shootout, Leo Carlsson and Trevor Zegras both scored for the Ducks, while Adrian Kempe and Kevin Fiala missed both their chances, hitting the post and the crossbar, so they got very unlucky in the shootout. But at the same time, it doesn't matter. The Ducks scored, and they win in the shootout 2-1 Saturday night. All right, that is it for this video. Thank you so much for watching. 14 games is a ton of games to cover, but we did it for you, and I hope you enjoyed this one. Only 2 games tomorrow, and then the Four Nations face-off will commence on Wednesday night, and I will be putting out either Monday or Tuesday my predictions and a little fun little intro to the Four Nations face-off video. Like I said, either Monday or Tuesday, probably Tuesday. So we will see you then. And then I'll be doing live streams for each Four Nations face-off game, and hope to see you on YouTube live, and we can have some conversations, talk about what's going on with the channel, whatever you want. You can type in your questions and we'll try to get them answered. And yeah, we will see you tomorrow. 2 games to cover, and then that is it for 2 weeks in the NHL. We will see you then. Have a great night. Thanks so much for coming and watching this video. It means the absolute world to me. Take care.